Hi, everybody. If we could just have a second of your time, but before we get to the actual episode, a few weeks back, we recorded an interview
with this amazing woman.
Lovely woman. They did a remarkable thing.
Yeah, and she spoke with us not once, but twice. Mm-hmm. Actually, we interviewed her first as one of our early proof of concept episodes when we were just practicing, and then again for the real deal. We had a wonderful conversation with her.
And just this week, the news spread that she had passed away. She's a very, very young, very lovely, very vibrant, but
very tragic and unexpected turn of events. And so we want to definitely, first and foremost, reach out and express our heartfelt sympathy to her family, to her friends.
And as you'll hear in the interview, she's very close to her family. They're all very, very close-knit. So that was the first thing I thought of. Like, oh my God.
But also she has built an extended family, a massive community of support of folks all around the world, and you'll see and understand why shortly. But we just wanted to touch base with you first and let you know that we share in mourning her unexpected passing, and we dedicate this episode of Be Good Humans to the amazing Allison Parliament.
Be good humans, be good humans, be good humans, or we will think you suck. Be good humans, be good humans, be good humans, or we will think you suck.
Welcome in, and we're so glad you're here for the Be Good Human podcast. I'm Brian. That is Trey.
Hi, I'm Trey. That's Brian.
And I'm going to start off by asking you a question.
Oh, okay. All right.
Are you a car guy?
Am I a car guy? I mean, I'm not. I realize whose company I'm in. I'm not a car guy like you're a car guy. I love cars.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. And you kind of gotta at least respect cars if you live in Los Angeles.
You do. And I've always been a car guy. Because in fourth grade, when my friends were drawing pictures of tanks and battle scenes and army men, I was designing cars. I was actually drawing car designs.
So you designed the Cybertruck?
Yes, I was in fourth grade. That's why it looks like that. What a dopey looking car.
It is pretty dopey.
So I've always been a fan of the design, and I've got this term. It's does it have turnaround appeal, meaning when you get out of your car, do you turn around and look at it? Just the design and the art of it.
Yeah.
Well, then let me ask you this.
Okay.
What was your very first car?
Oh, okay. So my dad bought it from his partner for $800, and it was a 1973 Lincoln Town Car station wagon with wood paneling.
Boat!
Yeah, it was a huge boat, and it had an enormous engine in it, and I got vinyl letters, and I christened it Le Thing, and I put those on the wood paneling, and it was an amazing boat that would carry all of my friends. Well, I should say it did carry all of my friends until I ran it up over a curb, blew both the front tires, and bent the front axle.
Oh, and that was it for the car?
That was the untimely death of Le Thing.
Yeah.
What about you?
My first car that actually ran. Mm-hmm. The first car didn't, which is a whole different story. But my first car that ran, my grandfather had recently passed away, so my dad gave me his it was a red late 60s Impala.
Okay.
Chevy Impala.
Okay. All right.
And it ran great.
Sure.
And, it was my
That's all that
car.
matters at that age.
Yeah. Until when I turned 16, I was driving my parents' car everywhere.
Sure.
So they were happy to give me that car. Mm-hmm. But it ran great, but there were problems. The main one was it actually squeaked. Oh, let's see. Hear the siren?
Yeah, I do hear the siren.
Yeah. That's part of the story.
Are they coming after you finally?
Yes. But my car actually squeaked so loud that you could hear me coming half a block away. Something wrong with the suspension system. I had absolutely no money trying to get through college.
Sure.
So I'm not going to repair it. So it's just going to go. So I pull into a parking lot, and there's some pretty girls or whatever there, and they're waving, and I'm going, and you're hearing. It was.
Wow, we should sample that and use that in every show moving forward.
But here's the demise of my grandfather's wonderful car. I had heard from friends, or a friend, and I don't remember who, that you can save money on gas is if you come to a hill.
Yeah.
And you're going
uphill?
No, going downhill.
Okay, yeah.
You come to a hill, downhill, and you're going like 60 miles an hour.
Sure.
That if you just flick it into neutral.
Oh, God.
You can coast down that hill and not lose a lot of speed, and then when you're at the bottom of the hill, you flick it back up at the drive.
So whoever told you that clearly hated you.
No, it worked. I'm telling you.
Okay.
It worked.
Okay.
The problem was, one night I was coming home from a gig like 3 hours away. I played in bands.
Yeah.
And I was a little tired.
Sure.
So big hill, country road, flick it into neutral, saving gas. Instead of putting it into drive at the bottom of the hill, I put it into reverse.
Oh.
Here is the sound.
Yeah.
This is the sound of the last sound my car ever made.
Brace yourself, Ryan.
That was it. Everything locked up. So, but remember now, I'm on a country road.
Yeah.
There's nobody around.
Yeah.
I walk about 3 miles to the first country house. This is actually setting up for a horror movie.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this has a very dark ending.
Knocked on the door, and a very, very sweet couple lived there, and they let me use the phone to call my father.
Okay.
After those two, then after that, to replace that, I spent $430 on a extremely used Renault Le Car.
Which is close to the thing.
Okay. Exactly.
Okay,
my father, I'd never seen him laugh so hard when I pulled in the driveway with that. And he just laughed, and he started calling it the French beer can.
Oh, man.
Because you could actually take your finger and just poke in the sheet metal.
That's painful. I mean, you kind of want your dad to be proud of you for buying your first car, but yeah, you got ridiculed.
But that's what I had, and I was driving that car 3 hours to college, 3 hours home every weekend to play in bands, to do gigs. After 2 weeks, the key broke off in the ignition. So I'm not exaggerating. I started it by using a flathead screwdriver.
Oh, God.
And sticking it in the ignition, turning that with one hand, and with my other hand, reaching under the dashboard and holding 2 wires together.
Wow.
So, and I had that car way longer than I should.
Well, this is why you're a car guy. You had a lot to make up for.
And then, absolutely. And then after those 2 cars came a parade of beat up pieces of doo-doo that even the 1-877 Cars for Kids wouldn't take if they had the chance.
Thanks for putting that song in my head.
And by the way, let me talk about the 1-800 Cars for Kids band. I was a huge fan. I went to so many of their concerts, but unfortunately, they went the way of many bands that are so successful. To me, they got a little commercial.
Yeah, they really did.
They sold out.
Yeah, they really did.
So I stopped listening to.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's thanks for bringing that back.
They were a huge part of my life. All right, well, let me ask you another question.
Okay.
Have you ever owned a Jeep?
As a matter of fact, yes, I have. The first one I didn't technically own. It's my father's pride and joy to this day. In fact, Ryan, you should bring up a picture of this if you have it. This is a Jeep, a 1977, yeah, there it is, CJ7, and my dad's, it's known as the Grizzly Goat.
Is that your dad driving?
That is my dad, God bless him. But yeah, the Grizzly Goat was his pride and joy. He was a big fan of the 70s show Grizzly Adams, and he had a beard that was a lot like Grizzly Adams. And so my mom surprised him with the paint job on the hood for his birthday, and occasionally, only if he was feeling really generous and I wasn't too much of a jerkwad on any given week, he would let me drive this to school on occasion, and then I would drive it, as if it were made of glass. And then I had my own Jeep Wrangler Sahara here in LA in the 90s, which you'll appreciate this. I always kept a pair of drumsticks in the center console, and I turned my dashboard into a mobile drum kit at stoplights.
And not only appreciate it, but I emulated it. That's doing the exact same thing. In fact, I bought a couple of cars. Yeah, again, no money, cheaply. But because I didn't care, it was just transportation at that point. They were just beaters.
Sure.
According to if the dashboard sounded great to hit with a drumstick. We're both drummers, so that was important.
Yeah, by the time I sold that Wrangler, the whole dash was cracked. It was quite miserable, but man, it was a lot of fun. Did you have Jeeps?
I did. I always wanted one, and so it was out here in California. I did it right. I got everything I wanted on it. It was white with black neoprene seats.
Ooh.
And huge wheels. I put a big lift kit on it.
Sure you did.
And God, I loved it. In fact, I was telling you before we came out that one of our old board ops of the old show, he wanted to see it. So after the show, we walked out and he looked at it and he kind of just melted. It was so just cherry.
Sexy.
Yeah. And he goes, you know what, Brian? I go, what? You are just nowhere near cool enough to drive this. 'Cause I loved it. But
tell it like it is.
there was one story that it kind of got me in trouble. No, not the Jeep. I got me in trouble.
Okay.
But I was driving home from work on La Cienega Boulevard.
Sure.
I come to a stop sign. Something drops on the floor, so I have to unbuckle my seatbelt. I reach down to get it, and I put it back on the console there, and the light turns green, and I pull out, and I see a cop there, and I'm not kidding. I always wave at cops. I just, thanks for doing it, just always being nice.
Especially after you dropped your crack pipe.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's going to get out now. So, no. So I have a very dear friend who's a cop. And so I pull out, wave at him immediately as I pass him. Lights come on, his motorcycle. He's a motorcycle cop.
Whoop, whoop.
And he pulls me over.
Oh, man.
I'm like, what? Maybe he's a friend of my cop buddy, Roger.
No.
And he comes over, saunters over. And he goes, I see you weren't wearing your seatbelt. And I explained.
Sure.
I explained the whole thing.
Sure.
And this is what happened. I'm sorry. And then the oddest thing occurred.
What's that?
The next 20 minutes was a lecture from him. And it wasn't a mean cop. But it was just odd because it was a lecture, horrifying things. It's like those movies you see in when you're in grade school, blood on the asphalt. And
Yeah. And so he's explaining to you all the reasons why you need to wear your seatbelt.
Exactly, okay. Especially in a Jeep.
Sure.
Especially if you flip this thing, you could have decapitated yourself.
Yeah.
It's very easy on the roll bars.
Sure,
you can do this, and it just went on and on and on and on. And of course, as we all do in most of these situations, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Just finally got through. He didn't ticket me.
Oh, well, you got that going for you.
Gets back on his motorcycle and takes off. I get on my phone immediately to call Roger. I go, Roger, you would not believe.
Yeah, this is your friend, the cop.
The cop, you would not believe what I just experienced. I can't overemphasize how odd he was.
Yeah.
And I told him the story. He goes, what was his name? And I said, Officer so-and-so.
Yeah.
And he goes, Brian, do you remember that story years ago when Zsa Zsa Gabor slapped a cop?
Not that cop.
I go, yeah. He goes, that's him.
No way.
That was the cop she slapped.
Oh, wow.
And he even said, like all the other cops that know him, behind his back probably, but they called him Ozone because he's so out there. But that was, I kind of don't blame Zsa Zsa Gabor now because I certainly wanted to slap him.
I kind of feel like she slapped him for all of us.
Exactly.
Wow, that's impressive. Well, okay, so we both drove Jeeps. I would actually rank Jeeps pretty high among my favorite vehicles I've driven. And there's pros and cons to it, right? Like the pro of feeling the wind in your hair.
Oh, yeah. Taking the doors off.
Yeah, but then at the same time, the con of your girlfriend getting her hair messed up, which she's not necessarily thrilled about. Or you can feel the sunshine on your face, which is amazing when you're driving along the PCH or whatever. But then you can also feel that temperature rise of 20 degrees when you go into the valley and it's like driving into a hairdryer, right?
So great.
So there's pros and cons. I think mostly pros for us, but
so we're safe to say we're both Jeep fans.
Yes, that is true.
And I didn't even know that until we started talking about this show.
Well, here we go.
Cool because I was too. But even if you're not a Jeep fan, you have no plans to be a Jeep fan, you're never going to own a Jeep. When we come back, we're going to introduce you to someone that through her love of Jeeps did something unintentionally that caught on and is now a global phenomenon, and all by being a good human. Now that's a hook.
I
just hooked.
My curiosity is officially piqued.
Hooked it. Whoop, whoop. Be right back.
Be good humans, be good humans, be good humans, or we will think you suck.
Welcome back. Joining us from Ontario, Canada, is the amazing Allison Parliament. Thank you for joining us, Allison.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So we gather that you, much like we have discovered about each other, you are a big Jeep fan.
Yes, very much so. It's been basically bred in me since birth. So it is a great love of my life now.
How old were you and why did you fall in love with Jeeps?
Yeah.
So I've been in a Jeep since I could sit up. My granduncle restored antique military vehicles, including a couple Jeeps that were World War II and Korean War Jeeps.
Oh, wow.
And so we were out on property with him from basically when he could get us in the Jeep safely until ultimately he passed away. And I swore one day I would own my own Jeep Wrangler.
So was that your first Jeep, a Wrangler?
No, it wasn't. It was actually a Liberty while I was in university. And the Wrangler came in 2020.
So your first car was a Jeep?
No, sadly, it was a convertible Camaro with the LS1 engine in it that my dad was kind enough to loan me.
Sadly, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I know. Most people would be so excited about that, but I wanted the Jeep.
Okay, well, at least you've been consistent in that quest. So then you said in July of 2020 is when you got your first Wrangler.
It was actually June of 2020.
June of 2020. Okay.
And you have dual citizenship, do you not?
Yes, I do. We gained citizenship in the U.S. in about 2012.
And it's also very important to note here, before she gets into her story, that during COVID, Canada's COVID protocols were a lot more strict than America's. So many Canadians really, truly wanted, writing their political leaders to close down their borders because basically we were driving, just having fun driving up to Canada and giving Canadians COVID. So they really seriously wanted to close down the borders. Okay.
So June of 2020, you get this Wrangler, which I can only imagine you were enjoying, at least until July of 2020, if I have my dates correct. So if you don't mind taking us back to July of 2020 for all the love you had for Jeeps and the excitement you had over having your own Wrangler, you had a particularly awful experience, didn't you?
I did. I came into Canada and followed all the process for a required worker to be able to come into Canada to work. And I was coming up to make sure my grandmother was okay because she was up here by herself in her late 80s. I didn't want her to be locked in her home by herself.
Sure.
So I made the decision, since I didn't have kids and my life was a little bit more mobile and I could work from home, to come home.
Okay.
So in any case, when I crossed the border, I was given all the sets of rules and everything we were supposed to do. And I drove north towards my family home and stopped for gas just off the highway a couple hours into the drive. And this person came up to me, started yelling at me. And I didn't realize he was yelling at me at first.
Just randomly yelling at you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I had been driving for 13 hours at that point, so I was exhausted. And I got out, walked around, and this guy comes up yelling and screaming. And then I realized he's yelling at me, and he starts putting his hands on me and telling me to go back to my own country.
Putting his hands on you?
Whoa.
Yeah, I have photos that we haven't released of bruises from me hitting my Jeep and being grabbed.
So a stranger starts yelling at you, verbally assaulting you, then physically assaulting you for absolutely no reason. What was his twisted thinking in this moment?
He told me that I was up here trying to spread COVID, and I wasn't welcome.
Wow.
And a lot of sentiment was the same. People were being told Americans were coming in, intentionally spreading COVID, when a lot of us were just coming home to be with our families because we didn't know how long the border would be closed.
Of course.
And so instead of getting gas, I managed to get back in my Jeep and drove off scared, and called my significant other and talked to him on the phone until I could get to another gas station half an hour away, which on E in a Jeep is like a prayer and a half on its own. And I made it, got gas, got home, and we sat for a required period of time. And then I was convinced to go further north to visit my cousins in a little town that people know us. So it should have been relatively safe, and it was. But while we were there, I had a brilliant idea when I saw another Jeep after buying a bag of ducks to hide around my house to torture my other half.
A bag of little rubber ducks?
Yeah, I bought the bag, and I was going to hide them originally around the house to torture my partner.
Funny. I like your style.
It's a thing because I had to go home back to Alabama eventually, and we didn't know how long I'd be stuck on the other side of the border again.
Sure.
So in any case, when I came out, I always have permanent markers on my Jeep, and there was a Jeep that was lifted. Mine was stock. It was a 2018 JKU Sahara, and I loved it. But the lifted Jeep was pretty, and they'd put so much work into it. I had the idea to write, "Nice Jeep, have a great day." on the duck because I didn't have any paper and I didn't want to leave like a sticky note or something stuck to the Jeep.
Yeah, of course.
So I left the duck sitting on the mirror and I got caught doing it. And the gentleman thought it was hysterical.
He saw you do it.
Yeah.
He did. He watched from somewhere else and he was a big guy, like taller than me, and I'm 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there about praying not to die in the process of all this, but he came up and thought it was great. He actually suggested it. I put it up on my Facebook and Instagram as hashtag #DuckDuckJeep.
All right, let me stop you there. Okay, so first let's back up for a second, Allison. Credit where it's due.
Yeah.
Like if I had been verbally, not to mention physically assaulted by a stranger, I probably would have crawled into a hole, and I don't even know if I would have gotten back in my Jeep again.
Or left the house.
You somehow held on to your sense of humor even after experiencing what I can only imagine was a traumatic bit of ugliness. And but you hold on to your sense of humor. You are then struck subsequently to buy some rubber ducks and leave a rubber duck with a kind message on a stranger's Jeep just because you're impressed by his Jeep. And first of all, let's just be clear.
Yeah.
That automatically already qualifies you as a good human in our book.
Yeah.
But
to make a choice to do something nice after being through something that was not very nice.
Yeah, the exact opposite. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you. And honestly, I didn't want anybody to feel the way I did.
Yeah.
Because I was scared for a good while leaving the house after it happened. And, every time we had an interaction, I was worried because people would look at the plates and glare at us.
Of course.
So when did this thing start snowballing?
We started it July 4th, 2020, and it started really blowing up about a week into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a phone call from a reporter July 26th or 27th of 2020 from Massachusetts. And then other reporters and other people started calling in our group on Facebook we created in that time, started blowing up. And I had emailed Jeep and said, hey, we did this just so you guys know, because I didn't want a problem with Jeep.
Sure, you don't want to get at cross purposes with the company you love.
Right. Or the rubber duck company.
Oh, yeah. And Jeep responded. They were like, hey, I think this is a great idea from the person that responded to me.
Uh-huh.
And then in November of 2020, they released the 392 Rubicon with the ducks and said the best part about Duck Duck Jeep was that it didn't come from corporate.
Oh, yeah,
that's great.
Of course. I mean, this is look, and I should say, the Jeep community is notoriously close.
Tribal.
Anyway. Like
they're very
tribal. Like I still remember the rules about
we're creepy. She goes, we're creepy.
Oh, I don't think
Crazy.
so.
Not
crazy.
Crazy. I'll go with.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, they are a very warm, embracing community. But they then grabbed onto this phenomenon like wildfire, and all of a sudden it becomes this global phenomenon known as Jeep ducking.
It went nuts. We're in 86 countries with over 600,000 people playing around the world that we can track now.
Wow.
And Jeep actually just released Duck Duck Jeep Europe as a campaign 2 days ago.
Really?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we saw it pop up on LinkedIn, and I actually emailed the head of Jeep and said, hey, we'd love to get involved. Let me know. So we're hoping to hear back for that. But Jeep in the past has been great with us. They actually loaned me a 4xe Wrangler that we had in 2021.
How much time does this take to kind of, I mean, you are, for all intents and purposes, the original mother ducker.
Yes, she is.
You started that. Is this a daily 8-hour, 9-hour, 10-hour a day happening with you?
This is a 24/7 happening. And my phone blows up 24/7. I just got home from 2 months of being on the road with Duck Duck Jeep. We did 6 events back to back, including Daytona Beach, which is Jeep Beach, and Jeep Jam in Panama City, as well as a rubber duck race locally last weekend here in Ontario.
So I can only imagine at these festivals and these happenings the Jeep owners or Jeep lovers are throwing. You're the celebrity. You're the one who has to be announced. You're the one who has to walk out in front of everyone. Are you comfortable with that?
I've gotten there. I used to be very, very shy and awkward. I am very much happy behind a camera instead of in front of it. But I'm autographing at Daytona, we autographed about 9,000 ducks.
Wow.
And then usually a season we go through 30 to 40,000 ducks.
Well, see, and this is, I mean, I'm delighted that we're able to help tell this story, because I still think that there are many Jeep owners. Most recently, one of my own managers here in LA, who's a longtime Jeep lover and owner, when I told him about this story, he immediately knew, like, oh yeah, I keep ducks in my glove compartment and I get ducks on my Jeep all the time. But he had no idea what the auspices were, like what the origin story of this was.
Yeah, a friend of mine, I was talking to a friend of mine as well, and she said her husband got a duck on his Jeep in the parking lot, and he still keeps it. And it said something like a long-lived Jeeps or something like that. Right. He still keeps it. He just thought it was kind of funny. Again, like you, no idea why it started, how it started, where it came from. But then they pass it on.
Yeah.
Like, I got ducked, now I'm going to duck someone.
Yeah. So, Allison, as the mother ducker, and we should really stop calling you that unless you're comfortable with it.
It's okay. I answer to it. You're good.
Don't worry about us. We're just duck heads.
Yes, that's so true. And we could just go on like this all day, and I'm sure she's heard them all.
Heard them all.
But I wonder...
Yeah, and then we created some too.
I'm sure. I wonder if you would mind describing to us some of the favorite ducks that you've gotten and some of the best that you've left for other people.
So I've come across many really amazing ones because I work with a little shop out of Tennessee called Ducking Crazy. Mm-hmm. So they actually sell ducks. And since I've got somebody here that's walking out of the room, can you go grab the big splatter painted duck out of my bedroom and bring it back to me?
Oh, the splatter painted duck.
It's a 6-inch tall duck, and it is white base, and it looks like it's been rainbow splatter painted. It's one of my favorites.
Amazing.
But you're getting them from all over the world, correct?
Yes, I've had some from Sydney, Australia. I've had some from Holland, from the company Delph, and things like that. It's kind of crazy. Like, I have 18 countries represented in my 2 Jeeps right now, because I was blessed last summer with a 2024 Rubicon.
Nice.
The Extreme Recon package on it. That is rubber duck yellow or high velocity yellow.
Oh, nice.
Rubber duck yellow. Yeah.
Thunder Chrysler out of Bartow, Florida called me and they said, hey, we know your Jeep's not in great shape. What would your dream Jeep look like? And then they custom ordered her and handed me the keys at Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion.
Gave it to
summer.
you?
Nice. Yep.
Wow.
Because everything we do is at a pocket.
Sure.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
So they wanted to help me because my silver Jeep was not in as good a shape. It is older, and we're rebuilding it as we go.
And that shows you again how tribal Jeep owners, Jeep lovers are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just supporting each other.
Exactly. To say nothing of Jeep dealers and then the Jeep Corporation, he said, hoping to get sponsorship for their podcast.
We love Jeep.
We love Jeep too. And we've been very fortunate with all of our sponsors, 45games.com and RTX Wheels both stepped in big ways to help us as well. They actually had my Jeep as it was delivered on jacks, switching out my wheels and tires.
Wow.
So at Smoky Mountain, we'd look our best and be able to represent all of our sponsors, which was amazing. And we've been all over the US and Canada with this.
Wow, fantastic.
And we have 8 more major events this season.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us how people that are listening, probably in their Jeep right now, or they have a Jeep in... Oh, there it is.
There is your splatter. Wait, hold that up one more time. That's just amazing. Look at that. So that's not your average rubber ducky. Yeah, somebody put some time and effort into that.
Probably a very famous artist. Yeah,
Exactly.
Actually, I think there's a company that just sells these guys out right now.
Oh,
there's
great.
even a tie-dye version of him floating around.
Oh, cool.
Amazing.
So people that are listening that love Jeeps, have one in the driveway, what link, what website can you direct them to be a part of this?
Our website is officialduckduckjeep.com.
Officialduckduckjeep.com.
Mm-hmm.
Our social media is all official Ducking Jeep EST 2020.
Okay.
And that will get you Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for us.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Allison, we really have to commend you. You took a terrible experience with a ducking jerk, and you turned it into a literal ducking phenomenon that puts random smiles on people's faces on a daily basis. And it makes me, I don't know about you, it makes me want to go buy a Jeep.
I wish I still had mine now.
No, I want the ducks.
Yeah.
Right?
I loved it. Always nice to talk to people that really kind of encompass what the show's all about.
Yeah.
Being a good human. And in your case, you were a good human, just a little thing. And it started this global phenomenon.
If I may, she's a good ducking human.
Yay.
Yeah.
There you go. Write that one down.
Write that one down. Thank you so much for joining us, Allison, and thank you for just being awesome.
Thanks, Allison.
Thank you as well.
Be good humans, be good humans, be good humans, or we will think you suck.
Okay, she's amazing.
Oh, she's great.
And in case you missed it, if you want to learn more about this extraordinary global phenomenon of Jeep ducking, then go to officialduckduckjeep.com. And there will also be links for all their socials and all that stuff. So Jeep owner or not, rubber duck lovers or not, go visit officialduckduckjeep.com.
And all the poor the beater cars.
Yeah.
All the beater cars that I've had. Like I said, there was a parade of them because I was poor. I wish I would have started something like this.
Yeah.
Like something to put on. You see a beater, it's like, we're all in this together.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, just a good reminder. You can have the crappiest day imaginable and you can still turn it into all kinds of sunshine for other people.
Absolutely. And we want to remind you to go to our website, begoodhumanspodcast.com.
Please do that and follow us on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, X, whatever is your preference. And assuming you're watching us, or if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, hi. How do we look? Please click like and subscribe. Please do that for us. We'd really appreciate that. And one more thing, if you feel like being what we call a BGH VIP, please follow us and subscribe to our Patreon page, where you can get all kinds of bonus material, stuff that didn't make it into the show. Maybe we'll show off some more rubber ducks, member exclusive videos and posts. We're going to do some occasional live Q&A stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's a lot of fun. And Ryan, can you keep this shot right there just for a second?
Which one?
Now, I've always known,
Yeah.
the one we're looking at, I always known that my nose is quite large.
Okay.
But I just looked up and look what I saw.
What'd you? Oh,
I saw this.
Oh, it is kind of, well,
Right there.
but it's handsome.
This is-
It's a striking Roman nose.
My nose is actually in the frame.
Yeah, but
that's how big it is.
It's pointing us to the end of the show.
Yes. So it is the end of this show. We will see you next time on the Be Good Humans podcast.
Thank you very much for joining us. And much like Allison Parliament, do us a favor. Be good humans.
Be good humans, be good humans, be good humans, or we will think you suck. Be good humans, be good humans, be good humans, or we will think you suck.